Hello and welcome to the She is Courageous podcast, your weekly reminder that courage comes before confidence and mindset is where it starts. I'm Shelley Bosworth, business mindset coach, helping women to stop holding themselves back and start showing up boldly in business, work, and of course life. This podcast is your nudge to ditch the self-doubt, quieten the overthinking, and take action that builds real confidence. Because she is courageous and she is you. Hello and welcome back to the She is Courageous podcast. This week I want to talk about resilience. Now, resilience is a word that gets thrown around a lot, especially in today's world, particularly in the coaching industry, if I'm really honest. It's one of those buzzwords, I think, and it gets thrown around a lot when things feel hard. Now, I'm recording this podcast in what is being known as week 4. This is March 2026. This is really important for context, actually, because someone might be listening to this a year down the line. And this is March 2026, and I'm living in Dubai, currently experiencing, as so many are, the regional conflict situation that we find ourselves in. And the word resilience has come up a lot over the last 3 weeks. And that's what made me want to record this podcast. Because I've used it. Actually, I've used it for myself. I've used it with clients. And there's so much like, we just got to be more resilient. We've got to stay strong. We've got to push through. And I found myself realizing, first of all, that I was using the word too much, but also listening and paying attention and looking at the social media posts and this word resilience that keeps coming up. And if I'm really honest, I think that most people are thinking about resilience completely wrong. There, I said it. And I think that is why so many women feel so, it's one of the many reasons that so many women feel so exhausted. Because I think so many people are doing everything they think they should be doing. I think so many women are trying to be resilient, but are potentially thinking about resilience in the wrong way. And this isn't just because I'm sitting here, as I say, navigating this very strange time I find. This is something that, if I go back through my own story, there's many periods of challenging times, uncertainty, and me thinking I just need to be more resilient. I just need to be stronger. And that's the bit here, because I think too many people think resilience looks like holding it all together, pushing through when things are really tough, staying positive no matter what's going on, keeping everything moving no matter what. And the challenge of that is, they're great skills if you can actually do that. But that's not what resilience is, let me say that now. And actually, eventually that all just gets too much. No one can do all of that. No one can do that without mechanics and modalities and support and tactics in the background. Because if anyone does try to just hold it all together, push through, keep staying positive, keep moving no matter what is happening around them, fundamentally, you will kind of crash. Forgive me if that's not a great word to use. You will definitely be on a short road to burnout. And actually, it just isn't the right answer. It really isn't. Now, it's really easy for me to say that, okay? What you need from me right now is, okay, so what is Shelley? But I just want to be really clear. If you think resilience is keeping it all together and pushing through, I want to let you know now that's not what resilience is. And there are better ways for you to train your resilience muscles. Because I think what people think is you have to do all of that, get through whatever it's the hard time, come out the other side, pick yourself back up and go again. And that's what people call resilience. That's not resilience. That's a cycle. It's an unhealthy cycle that we have almost been taught is what we should be able to do. Push, override, ignore, push, override, ignore, potentially a little bit of burnout and crash in there, but don't worry, as long as you get yourself up over the other side and repeat, you are resilient. It's okay if you experience burnout, as long as you learn from it and you get up and come out the other side. That's resilience. No, it's not. And if you're really honest, you know where in your life you might be doing this. This isn't just in really, really world, global, economic, challenging times. You know when you're pushing through when you shouldn't be. Yes, those of you that listen to me often, I just use the word shouldn't. But it is true. Like, there are times when that word comes in. You know where you're pushing through when actually it's not the right thing for you to do right now. You know where you're ignoring what's actually going on for you right now. You know where you might be keeping yourself in a constant state of pressure, like just on the edge, and calling it resilience. And actually, that's what I've noticed in me recently. Now, I don't want to talk about me. I don't do the podcast to tell you about me, but I do this podcast and I talk about subjects that are real. And I share my insight, my experiences, my own foibles and flaws, because I'm real and because I don't profess to have it all sorted, and because this has never been about not ever getting it wrong. It's never been about not failing. It's never been about being resilient all of the time. Most of us know when we're not getting it quite right for ourselves, but I don't think we give ourselves permission to do what we need to do. You know when you are keeping yourself in a constant state of something that's not working for you. You can feel it. It almost feels like you are fighting against yourself. There are so many people that are just tired. Now, whether you are tired because, you know what, the last 3 months have been challenging, they've not gone the way you hoped they would, there's been some curveballs thrown at you, a bit of regional conflict, who knows, right? But I know that a lot of women in my world are tired. Physically tired, mentally tired, emotionally tired. Not because there is too much for us all to do, but because of how we're doing it. Because we are running all the time, because we're not switching off, because we're not giving ourselves space to actually think clearly, because the world is moving so damn fast these days, and it feels like there's this constant race to keep up. And then we wonder why everything just feels a bit harder than perhaps it, and yes, I'm going to do it again, should. It definitely feels harder than we want it to. I think it's because you're not supporting yourself through whatever it is you're experiencing in the way that you need to. And I call this overriding. You are literally overriding yourself. And I'd love you just to press pause for a minute and just ponder on what I've just said. Just think about that. Where are you overriding yourself? Where are you not giving yourself what you need, but actually doing what you think you're supposed to do, because that's what resilience is? I've noticed this so much over the last few weeks, navigating what has been the most surreal time of my life. And that's a lot to say when you've lived through 2020. But it's been the small things, the constantly checking the socials, letting my head fill up with stories and worry. I've literally kept myself in that slightly wired, on edge state. I mean, I'm someone that will have told you for years that I work better under pressure and all that. It's not true, by the way, I don't. It's just something I told myself. But what I've realised over the last few weeks, that keeping myself in this very, like I said, just on the edge of wired, the constant need to know, but actually filling my head with even more concern, none of it's been helping. Definitely isn't giving me any more control. Definitely hasn't made me any more prepared. But what it has done is kept me stuck. The very opposite of resilience is stuck. Because actually, when we're pushing, when we're trying to hold it all together, we're trying to be super positive, what we're not doing is moving forwards. We're actually in a constant state of reaction rather than resilience. When we keep ourselves in the problem, that's when we're in reaction. But real resilience is so much more subtle than that. And that's why I want to bring this up, because I think this word resilience is being bandied around, used all around us all the time, like it's this great big act of something. And I think resilience is much more subtle than that. Resilience is not about pushing harder. It's about how you hold yourself when things are still uncertain, still uncomfortable, still unresolved. It's noticing when you're starting to spiral and not feeding it. It's stepping back instead of stepping in deeper. It's creating space in your thinking so that you can actually decide what matters for you right now. It's allowing yourself to feel what you feel without letting it run the show. And that's the most important piece. That's true resilience, allowing yourself to feel whatever you are feeling without letting it run the show. and then still choosing how you are going to show up. And I don't mean how you're going to show up on the socials. I mean how you are going to show up for you, for your life, what you are going to choose to do in spite of, despite, in the midst of uncertainty, uncomfortability, discomfort is probably a better word. Resilience is allowing yourself to feel what you feel without letting it run the show and still choose how you will show up for you. I used to think that resilience was almost the comeback, the bounce back. I don't think that anymore. I think resilience is the steady bit in the middle. Everyone talks about the messy middle. Actually, maybe that is it. I just don't like using the words messy middle because so many people use them, including our good friend ChatGPT. I think resilience is the steadiness in the middle. And I think that the true magic is when resilience and courage come together. So resilience keeps you going, but courage moves you forward. Because it's one thing to be able to steady yourself. Resilience is when you steady yourself. But it's another altogether to then make the decision to still take a step, to still show up, to still do a thing, however big or small it is, even when everything's uncertain. That's the real work. Not sitting in resilience and waiting to feel better, but learning how to hold yourself and move anyway. That's resilience in action. And that requires courage. So I don't want to keep going round and round in circles. I just wanted to drop in with a really quick, let's just put some context on this. I think you're thinking about resilience the wrong way. And I just want to give you my view on this. But as a takeaway, I'd love to leave you a little challenge. So this week, stop overriding yourself. Notice when you go to push through again. Notice when you go to check something, to feed something that's not helpful. Notice when you keep yourself in that pressured, wired state. And instead of feeding it, just step back. Just step back a little bit. Create yourself just a little bit of space. And then decide what actually matters today. And then make that move. Resilience is needed most in the strangest of times, in the challenging times. And those are the times when it really is, as my good friend Steph Granger used to say, all about just for today. Because true resilience isn't pushing through to next week, next month. It is saying, just for today, how do I keep going? And if you can add a bit of courage that says, just for today, how do I keep going? Just for today, what would move me forward a little bit? What matters today? And that's where I want you to move from this week. You don't need to be stronger. It doesn't matter. Stop telling yourself you're not strong enough. Stop telling yourself you need to push harder. Stop telling yourself you need to be more resilient and simply lead yourself better. Resilience is not about how much you can carry. It's about how well you lead and manage yourself while you're carrying it. Because do you know what? None of us truly know how much we can carry. And yet we can all carry far more than we give ourselves credit for. Resilience is about how you manage yourself while you carry it. And courage is about how you continue taking steps while you're carrying stuff. If you can get that right, everything gets easier to move through. I hope that helps this week with just a slightly different view of what resilience actually is and what it isn't. Because as ever, all I really want you to remember is that she is courageous and she is you. And right now, right here this week, that starts with how you handle yourself, not how much you can endure.